What do you think you would look like if you were an animated character? Pretty awesome, right?
I'm adorable!
Well, for some actors, they don't have to wonder that. A lot of times, Disney has modeled their characters after either the voice actor or other famous people. So join us as we talk about all the Disney characters who are modeled after real actors, and let us know who your favorite is in the comments below. Let's get started right now.
Okay, let's do this.
I think it's fair to say that Frozen's breakout character was Olaf, the optimistic snowman who really wanted to experience summer. He's voiced by Josh Gad, but that isn't that hard to guess. I think it's Olaf's expressions that set him apart from other Disney sidekicks, and a lot of those were based off of Gad himself. Animators used his eyes and his smile as references to bring Olaf to life. Because Gad liked to improvise lines, the animators had to put in a lot of work to make sure that Olaf's lips matched what was being said. Too many, there is no one else who could possibly play Phil in a live-action Hercules other than the man who voiced him in the animated classic, Danny Devito. Danny DeVito matches Phil's mannerisms and characteristics almost perfectly. His short stature and gruff, short-fused attitude feels like it was tailor-made just for DeVito. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to know animators use DeVito as a reference point for Phil's overall design. Please hurry up and make that live-action movie soon so you can cast him. The character of Maui is a ton of fun in Disney's Moana. Design-wise, Dwayne Johnson revealed that Maui was partly inspired by his late grandfather, but there's still one key feature that's modeled after Johnson, and that's of course his epic eyebrow raise. Once Johnson was officially on board, directors knew they had to incorporate The Rock's signature eyebrow raise in some way. Initially, the directors were actually nervous to show Johnson the eyebrow element, but thankfully Johnson was a good sport about it. You think he's saying "you're welcome" to the directors after that? I'd like to think so. Ed Asner voiced the grumpy old man Carl Fredricksen in Up, and when he was first presented with the design for the character, he joked that he didn't look anything like Carl. Carl is one of those unique characters on this list who wasn't necessarily modeled after their voice actor. Carl is actually the spitting image of classic film actor Spencer Tracy. It looks like the design was a sort of homage to the late actor, which is sweet. Seriously, go watch Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and you'll absolutely see a live-action Carl. There's never been quite a performer like Robin Williams. The mad genius was known for his incredibly quick, off-the-cuff improv. That infectious energy is why his Genie character from Aladdin is such a beloved creation still to this day. When crafting a character around Robin Williams, you really have to wait until he's done recording. When it came time to animate, the animators had so much material to actually go through, but the end result is so worth it. Edna Mode, or I'm sorry.
Edna Mode.
Yeah, that sounds right. Taught us the #1 rule for all superheroes.
No kicks!
Seriously, I can't overstate how great the Edna character is in the Incredibles franchise. She has a very unique look, and that has led to some speculation on just who she's exactly based on. The easiest comparison is actress Linda Hunt. It's like if Linda Hunt was sucked into the cartoon world, she would look exactly like Edna Mode. You think Hunt feels some type of way while watching The Incredibles? I know I would. It's also clear Edna Mode is potentially based on a few famous fashion designers as well. And really, does that surprise you in the slightest? I didn't think so. Before Jeremy Irons signed on to the classic Disney film The Lion King, his villainous Scar actually looked a lot different. Scar is such an iconic character now that it's almost impossible to picture him looking like anything else. But originally, the character looked closer to Shere Khan in Jungle Book, with a more muscular physique and a bigger chin. He was meant to be a strong, physical match for Mufasa. But when Jeremy Irons joined and started making his magic in the recording booth, the animators decided to switch things up a bit. They tried to match Irons' darker eyes, slimmer frame, and general sophistication, making Scar not so much as a direct match with Mufasa, but rather his counterpoint was a really smart choice. Aladdin is one of the most iconic lead characters in any Disney film, but did you know that his character was actually modeled after one of the biggest movie stars on the planet? That's right, Tom Cruise is actually the inspiration behind Aladdin's character design. When animators were first designing the character, they were trying to go for a slimmer, more boyish look, but after that tested poorly, they received advice from the higher-ups that they wanted someone more like Tom Cruise. So they gave Aladdin a bit of Tom Cruise swagger in how he moved. No wonder Aladdin's first introduction is just him running a bunch. It's really nice when animators take the voice actors into consideration when designing the characters. Take Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, for example. Originally, it said that Tiana's original look was based on an intern who worked in the post-production department. But then in terms of actual likeness and personality, they used a lot of the voice actor, Anika Noni Rose's, mannerisms to make it feel more authentic. For example, they gave Tiana dimples and made her left-handed because Rose both has dimples and is left-handed. It's those little details that make Tiana such a standout character. Can you imagine someone who looked like Wreck-It Ralph in real life? There were a few key details that animators took from the character's voice actor, John C. Reilly. If you go back and see original sketches for Ralph, you'll find he looked more like a shaggy monster than an actual person. But with Reilly on board, they decided to use his face, his hair, and some body features to redesign the character. How do you think Hercules would have turned out if Jack Nicholson was the voice of Hades? That almost happened back in the day, and the original concept designs show a very Jack Nicholson-esque version of the character. But after contract disputes, James Woods stepped in and the animators got to work tweaking the character to more match Woods' fast-talking, slick, used car salesman-like delivery. As much as I love Jack Nicholson, I can't imagine Hades being drawn or performed any other way at this point. He's just such a perfect counterpoint to our hero. Phyllis Smith was the perfect choice to play Sadness in Pixar's Inside Out. Whenever she talked, it made me want to go sit on the floor in my shower and cry until the water went cold. But on top of the great vocal performance, the look for Sadness, unsurprisingly, matches the voice actor pretty well. Everything from the hair, the glasses, and even the clothes seem to match Phyllis Smith's The Office character. Like in real life, you'll find Smith to be a delight and quite cheerful, but design-wise, it's almost spot on. Even though nowadays the movie wouldn't fit under the Disney brand, we can't forget the classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit is in fact a Disney movie. It just doesn't feel like it a lot of the time with its subject matter or characters. Especially the bombshell Jessica Rabbit. She definitely feels way too PG-13 for Disney. When it came to designing this character though, the animators really wanted to base her off some of the most famous Hollywood icons of all time. At the end of the day, the main inspiration for Jessica Rabbit was the famed Rita Hayworth, with the director of animation saying they tried to make the character very similar to Hayworth, only with Veronica Lake's hair. You'll find a lot of the resemblance uncanny. On some level, it kind of looks like the makers of Toy Story 2 somehow invented a machine that allowed them to transport its Al McWhiggins actor, Wayne Knight, directly into their animated world, because the character looks a lot like Knight.
It's showtime!
Knight always does a great job playing these Weasley characters. He's made a whole career off it. You probably recognize him as Newman in Seinfeld or Nedry in the first Jurassic Park, but I think seeing his particular brand of sliminess in animated form is a great treat. The design behind Captain Hook is actually a really fun story. I think Captain Hook has an amazing character design, and that's mostly thanks to the voice actor, Hans Conried. When Hans showed up to record for the role, he came decked out in full-on pirate gear. Talk about commitment. When the animators saw this, they decided to base the character around Hans's own pirate design and his own features. So that goes to show you kids, be sure to dress up like a pirate everywhere you go. You never know where it might lead you. One of the standout side characters from Wreck-It Ralph was Sergeant Calhoun, the no-nonsense, battle-ready warrior who liked to squash robotic bugs in her Hero's Duty game. And it's no coincidence that her character looks almost exactly like her voice actor, Jane Lynch. Calhoun is incredibly tall with short blonde hair and is the spitting image of Lynch in animated form. And Lynch is great at showing all sides of Calhoun's personality. She can be tough as nails one minute, but then completely in love with Felix in the next. Where's our Sergeant Calhoun spin-off, Disney? Designing an iconic character right away for a movie is hard work. It's not something that can just happen overnight. Usually, as it's been shown on this list, animators like to use reference points for inspiration and then build off that. That's exactly what happened in the beloved 90s Disney movie The Little Mermaid, with the character of Ariel. The goal for this character was to create a beautiful, sweet, and contemporary young woman that would really connect with audiences everywhere. So animators ended up using Alyssa Milano as inspiration. The funny thing is, Milano had no idea that she was being used as the character's basis, and only found out about it much later in life when she saw a documentary about how the movie was made. So who knows, maybe some animator somewhere has used you for inspiration and you don't even know it. If the 4 unique-looking, British-sounding vultures in the original Jungle Book look familiar, that's because they were based on the Beatles. At the time, the Beatles were the biggest thing since sliced bread, and a deal was almost worked out to have the Beatles actually show up and voice these characters, which is why they were designed this way. In the end, though, the famed music group decided not to appear and voice the vultures, but animators kept the design anyway, and just cast other actors in the parts. Do you think the movie would have been better if the Beatles were involved? I think so. Beatles make everything better. You may not know Eleanor Audley's name as much as other actors on this list, but you certainly know her evil characters. She was the basis behind both Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty and as Lady Tremaine, aka the evil stepmother in Cinderella. For Maleficent, the animators asked her to perform and film scenes in character so that they could accurately capture the actress's features, movements, and gestures. Oh, that must have been an awkward conversation to have. Hey, Eleanor, you look evil. Could we use your image to create 2 of the most despicable Disney bad guys of all time? I hope she took that as a compliment. Even way back in the old days, it was very important for animated characters to feel authentic. That was especially true for Alice in Alice in Wonderland. She was voiced by the young 10-year-old Catherine Beaumont. They had Beaumont perform the scenes in costume and in character while recording her lines, so that the animators could just reference that later in the film. It's quite a neat process. Bobby Driscoll had a great relationship with Disney, having roles in titles like So Dear to My Heart and Melody Time, so it wasn't a stretch to see why Disney would cast him to voice Peter Pan in the animated classic. Driscoll performed live-action screen tests for the character in costume, and animators based Peter's design around that. It certainly made things better, as Driscoll was able to make public appearances as Peter Pan. That certainly must have made things easier for Disney. Next up is Fix-It Felix Jr., who was voiced with lovable, goofy sincerity by 30 Rock's Jack McBrayer. You can tell a lot of McBrayer's look and attitude were copied in order to bring Felix's design to life, all the way from his haircut to the grin to his general attitude. Can he fix it? Yes, he can! Oh wait, that's the wrong character. Alright, maybe animators didn't necessarily use John Goodman for the direct inspiration and character design for Pacha in The Emperor's New Groove, but you can't deny the similarities between the two of them. So much so that if there was ever a live-action version of Emperor's New Groove, then there would be no better choice to play Pacha than John Goodman. Both have a big frame and an intimidating presence, but also have a sense of calm and warmth about them. Oh man, I'm usually against live-action remakes, but now I really want to see that. Alice in Wonderland seems like it was a very special project, with a lot of the voice actors also performing live-action scenes that the animators could work with for inspiration. The Mad Hatter is an iconic character who was based heavily off of the voice actor who played him, comedian Ed Wynn. Both Wynn's nose and his facial structure was used to animate the Mad Hatter, and it led to one of the best Disney characters of all time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go celebrate my own birthday. I hope you understand. Snow White was Disney's first princess. It was uncharted territory for the animation studio, and the techniques they used to bring Snow White to life set the standard for all of their animated projects going forward. This was the first time that Disney had used character models to bring a character to life. Snow White was voiced by Adriana Caselotti, and whose likeness was also used to animate the Disney princess. Caselotti is the gold standard for Disney princesses, don't you think? Although the technique wasn't perfect, and when you look at the final outcome, it's not quite the carbon copy of Caselotti, but I do think the animators did a great job at capturing her general essence, don't you? I think they do such a great job with Danny Devito's Phil that it would be blasphemous if anyone else played the character in live action. He just embodies that role so well and is definitely one of my favorites on this list. What about yours? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching Screen Rant. See you next time.
I live.
I'll get you for this pan. If it's the last thing I do.
Higgledy-piggledy all over creation looking for you. I almost drowned in chocolate milk mix.